Hi everybody, it's John from Jilk here again. Going to do another track walkthrough, this time for the track A Full Ends, which is on part 2. Again, you'll notice here that it's called Final Hope. Often track names change as we're making them. It's called Final Hope for a reason, which I'll go into in a minute. Firstly, we put up another walkthrough of another track, and a couple of people got in touch just to say that the mix of my voice and the track volumes were just a bit off, and it was hard to hear. So we're readdressing that in this video. Hopefully, it's a little bit more balanced. You can hear my voice and the track, especially when they're happening at the same time. But obviously, do let us know. The way that we're capturing this is by using a program called OBS, which you can see down there, and unfortunately it records as one audio file, but yeah, it should be better now. Obviously, thank you for the people that did get in touch. It's really useful to have that kind of feedback. I want to do a lot more of these going forward on the YouTube channel, so it's always good to know. Okay, so this track, Full Ends, yeah, it's really minimal, actually. I opened the file thinking, oh, what can I talk about and go through? And there isn't much, but hopefully we can go through some bits in detail. It's called A Final Hope because it actually started with a sample of one of my favourite bits of music by Johannsson, which I will put a link to in the description. It's a beautiful brass piece, and it... I actually can't remember the name of it now. It's quite long. It has Hope in the title. But I called it Final Hope because I was like, this is going to be the last track on the album. Turns out it isn't. But it sort of ends, it ends a sort of cycle that the album goes through. It ends a sort of narrative. Part 1 starts with 3 tracks, all called A Full Starts, and then this is called A Full Ends. But yeah, so the very, very first elements that we came up with are these kind of ambient pads, ambient swells, but they're actually built from the Johannsson song. It's the brass and it's stretched out, and then we've processed it in a number of ways. So I guess the most interesting thing we're doing here, we're sending it to this auxiliary channel, and on that is just some EQ, and then this non-linear reverb, which is really cool. There's this preset called In the Storm, and it gives it a real like cloudy kind of, if I bypass that and then play it, you can hear the difference. It's sort of really up front now. And you can hear the cut. You can hear where we've sort of cut the audio a bit more, so I'll just unbypass it. And we haven't really altered that preset at all. And what I like about it is obviously it gives it that amazing cloudy, like In the Storm is such a good name for it. I like that you just get this like 3 milliseconds of sort of dry delay. It just gives it that tiny bit of clarity so it isn't totally swamped out. It's really nice. And then you can see with the EQ we've put this huge kind of like low pass filter on it. So it's just wiping out a lot of those high end frequencies. And then on the 2 channels, for those of you that watched the last video, you'll know about this black box. Really lovely saturation. We're using an 808 distortion fully wet, just to give it a bit of crackle, probably a bit of girth. Keep using the word girth in these videos, shouldn't do that, it's bad. And then EFX fragments. Again, if you watched the last video, I talked a lot about EFX fragments. It's an amazing plugin. It was recommended to me by an artist called Apter. Shout out to Apter for that one. Just an amazing, glitchy, kind of granular synthesis. A lot of it is granular synthesis, and I'm really into that. It's a big sort of component of Jilk. Loads of lovely, lovely presets. The responsive reverse you'll hear it throughout as we talk about the track. It's really subtle, which I like, but it just occasionally, just going to let it play, it kicks in quite randomly. There, you just got a hint of it, just a like slightly higher octave reverse. I think we also add it to the pianos. So yeah, that was the starting point. Go and listen to that Johann Johannsson piece. It's gorgeous. I think it might be one of my favourite bits of music ever. My granddad was from Yorkshire, and he was in a pit band, like a colliery band. And the front cover of the album, and often when you listen to the track on YouTube, it's a picture of a pit band. So just sort of feel like a connection to it there. But it is also just stunningly beautiful bit of music. So then the other elements are these glitch things, these glitch sounds. And these were taken from a sample pack provided by, I think they're called Point Source. It's a label. And they released like an artist sampler, and it came with a free sample pack. Again, I'll put a link in the description. It's a great label, definitely worth checking out that. But also, it's probably worth downloading this compilation just for the sample pack, because it's really cool. A lot of really lovely glitchy sounds. So yeah, you can hear there we've got like this static and this kick. It's unusual for me to use kicks from sample packs. I often take my kick drum from this instrument in Pro Tools. It's just like an 808 soft synth. It's called Boom. It's kind of cheesy actually, this as a plugin, but the 808 like sound is lovely. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it. No. Let's solo that. Oh, we've put it on a channel that's sending and receiving to something, but yeah, trust me, it's a really nice kick. But yeah, I think I just wanted to use all the drums in this sample pack, so I was excited about getting it. So we've got a little bit of reverb on that static sound there. Not a lot on the kick. Kick is just a bit of subtle EQ, just bringing out, what is that, like 120 there, and then pushing that almost in like a female vocal range, isn't it? But that was just to bring out that lovely like hiss. You can hear it. It's kind of like a electrical, like fluorescent light sort of sound. And then this sort of click, which we've EQ'd again, massive high pass filter, sort of a bit silly, and then just bringing out the kind of the brightness, the real sparkly end of it there. And again, we've got EFX fragments running on it, and that is running the D&B randomizer. That was just to give it some rhythmic kind of variety, because it's such a minimal track, there's so few elements going on. I felt like it was good to add in a bit of complexity, and that was quite a nice way to do that. So yeah, that's those elements. And you can hear here the piano comes in. This was the piano in Kags's house, which I played. I can tell I played it because it's very simple. So let's have a look at what's going on here. We've got two channels. So we wanted one channel that's just reverb, very simple. And then this second channel is almost like a purely wet effects channel. And again, it's the FX fragments. It's a preset called Discombobulated. You can build your own kind of presets in the FX fragments. I have never found any need to, because the amount of the library is just incredible and so well populated. But that's what's giving it that sort of lovely kind of haunted reverse effect. It sounds lush when the piano drops down into a lower octave and the chords come in. And then that's quite flattened and compressed. One of the things about EFX fragments is it's wild. It is sort of wild, and you might need to tweak the kind of effects gain and everything on EFX fragments. Let's just open that back up. As you can see here, like the grain mix, the grain volume, and feedback intensity, all of those things kind of add to the effects wet and dry as well, or add to, like, you know, how much the affected sound pops out of the mix. And I've found with EFX fragments occasionally the wet signal will really kind of sit on top of your mix. So yeah, that's why that's quite an aggressive sort of compression there. I mean, the actual compression isn't too bad. It's only like a 3-to-1 ratio. But you can see the threshold is very low, so that compressor's kicking in quite early in terms of the volume. But yeah, it gives it a nice... just a really nice stereo image. And I think what I like about that is this, you know, a lot of the track is so electronic, and then there's this fairly, like, I mean, I understand I've got the reverb on the channel, but it's fairly like organic and I don't want to say lo-fi. Like, I think, you know, we used a decent mic to record the piano, but it's not in a like studio environment. It's just Cags's front room, and the mic was you know, probably like fixed into place using tape and a coat hanger. And the piano is a beautiful piano, but it's like an upright. So like to have that relatively lo-fi sort of kind of dry-ish sound on top of like these sort of like quite smooth electronics, I like that. I think it's something like Clark does quite well. I think it's something Tom York does quite well. Adding that like the roughness of an organic instrument into a kind of like smooth electronic world. I think that's just a really pretty balance. EQ on this is, we've just swept out all of those like low frequencies. Part of that will be to do with the pedals on the piano and the fact that it's like a room recording. If we sort of bypass that, you might be able to hear. Yeah, you can hear you're getting a lot of the rumble of the pedals. And then we've just boosted some of these upper, higher frequencies. Again, kind of in the vocal range. This is almost like a vocal lead. It's so simple, it's just a few notes. So that's those elements. This Audio 4 is, I don't know how, you might have to put headphones on for this bit. Quite an aggressive like sine wave. The pop. So with that kind of thing, I always think, you know, I could separate each bass note, and I could easily put a micro fade in and out. But I like that pop. I think it adds, 'cause there's so much glitch going on that I think it kind of adds to the textures. It's really nice. Especially because that bass has got reverb on it. So in terms of an instrument, that will be structure free. It's going to be structure free. No, maybe not actually. Oh, it is. Yeah, so structure free. And the first thing that loads up when you open up structure free is this sine wave. Very nice. I'm a massive fan of sine wave bass. It's so simple, and you know, like I love that kind of like history of like glitch music, especially like 2000s kind of like clicks and cuts, like Milli Plateau, is it the label, all of that kind of stuff, hobby industries like OPA, Matt Moss to an extent, like Kid 606, his album, PS I Love You, all of those kind of artists, really like simple, clean bass sounds, minimal, like, and that's what I was trying to go for here, like that really kind of minimal idea of the bass. I'm just going to close that, take that off, and then the only thing we've added to that is some reverb. I wanted to use quite small reverbs, this garage thing, and then I think we would have tweaked this quite a lot. Quite a small decay, tonally like fairly bright, and then like not loads. Let's hear it by itself, and we can A/B the reverb without, obviously just sounds like. So it's that garage reverb that's like bringing out that click. Which I really like. I think it's kind of a mistake. I think, you know, in a cleaner bit of music, you'd probably want to get rid of that. But with this, it kind of adds to it. And reverb, just to make it sit a little bit. There's so much reverb on the piano, and some of the glitch, I think, especially on this kind of static glitch here. So that's why we would have done that. So then we hear this audio 2 come in, and this was kind of a late decision. It was, you know, for a long time, it was pretty much just going to be the elements that we've already been through and just kind of run through. In fact, I think even the piano kind of came in later. It was just going to be, you know, like sine tone, glitch, and these sort of ambient washes from the Johannsson track. And then inevitably got a little bit bored with that, wanted to sort of do some other things and give the track a bit of movement. And it's a really similar technique to what we talked about in the last video, which I will re-record and put back up. You can see here there's a channel that is called, well, CJ170 DRMLP there. If we scroll right to the end of the project, I don't know if you can see up here, this is like an overview of the project timeline. So this is kind of the track that you hear on the album here. And then this is either like an aborted idea or a different idea or how the track originally started. But anyway, you can see this channel had a drum loop on it, which is like... amazing, love it, really crisp, beautiful, from a Jungle sample pack. And yeah, what we did is we would have put EFX fragments on that channel, sent that channel to this channel here using send and receive, and then jammed through EFX fragments and got, you can see here, this purple channel. So it's kind of the really affected version of that drum and bass loop. Love it. Sounds so good. Anyway, stop doing that. So then we removed the drum and bass loop and just kept in these purple bits and just sort of to like chop them in. So they start to introduce slowly, get more and more complex. I think this glitch 12 sound happens once in the whole thing. Hang on, let's double check that. Oh no, it does. It repeats. Oh, I like the idea that only happens once. Oh, it comes in quite a lot. Oh, that's lovely. I like that it just popped up there. Cool. So pleased with my own work. It's so nice. So live, that element is really great. Live, I've started to play a guitar, quite a simple guitar line, and then I'll run that into my MX1 mixer, and this will be happening in Ableton, and then I'll put a universal effect on the MX1 that affects the guitar and Ableton, and just gives it this cool stutter effect. So these drums and the guitar basically start to like glitch together in a sort of like digga 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 kind of way, and it's really cool. So it's a really nice moment, and it, yeah, like I was playing this track live. It's been I'm really glad that we put this kind of movement and this kind of like sort of drum and bass kind of motif in. It's really cool. Especially as like everything else is so calm. And then, yeah, we start as the track kind of develops, the piano chords drop into, well, the chords get introduced and it drops into a sort of lower octave. These tracks here, I don't know what they're doing. Let's have a listen. Oh, okay. So that's going to be expand 2. Again, spoke about this a lot in the last video, but we'll go through it again. It's this instrument here. And yeah, it's very MIDI and it's kind of cheesy sounding. It has this huge library of presets, but what I like about it is the mallet section. Specifically, these sound Celeste and Celeste Soft, and a few of the others. And I think as long as you're not too bothered about them sounding like hyper real, they actually produce some really lovely kind of soft synth sounds. And that's what's going on there. I think it's probably almost definitely Celeste or Celeste Soft. And then we will have sent these. You can see on the send here it's going to bus 9 and 10, and then there's this auxiliary input here, so they all kind of are affected by the same things. This vintage filter is lush. I haven't really done much to it other than put it on this LP24 mode, and that's what gives it a real muted kind of underwatery sound. Let's just loop this here and we'll bypass this. Yeah, that just sounds really clean. I like that it's kind of overdriven. Like that kind of lo-fi-ness, like the gain was up too much when we were recording it. It's got a bit of a tape echo on it. This zoomer kind of preset, it gives it a real burnt out kind of feeling. You can see the feedback is up relatively high. And then we've just got EQ, obviously just scooped a bit out there for some reason. That's probably where the sort of blown out sound is coming from, so we've just like tempered it a little bit. And then just some reverb. So that's just like designed to sit nicely with the piano. I actually thought it was piano. That's probably why. Yeah, it's almost indistinguishable. It's like an augmenting kind of sound. And it's cool. What I like about that is that it's kind of working with the cleaner channel of the piano to give it a live feel, I guess. So it isn't kind of too smooth or too clean. That's often what we're going for in Jilk with our mixing. I don't want anything to sound too polished. And you might think, well, like that's because it's hard to make things sound polished. And I don't disagree, like full respect. But I think texturally, it's just a bit more, I find it a bit more interesting. Especially when you're mixing organic and electronic elements. So we can see here this guitar gets introduced. There are 2 guitar channels, the second one will come in. Not too much going on here. It's a really clean amp sound. We've got some reverb. Jazz club. Nice. Some tape echo. Again, zoomer, that kind of burnt out. If we bypass that, you can hear what it's doing a bit more. It's almost like a chorus effect or like a slap delay. It's really tight, but again, I like it. I think it brings out the kind of like the dysfunction of an amp sort of going a bit wrong, and it just gives it a bit of life. And then just a little scoop there, just to get rid of some of the mud. Little robot there, love it. So then the second guitar line comes in here. That's a beautiful chord. I love that. I think that probably came around by accident. So again, a lot of Jilk, we will just kind of jam and improvise a lot with the sort of organic live instruments and then cut them into like nice loops and nice bits. And what I like about that kind of way of working is that you get these lovely like serendipitous moments. We didn't sit down and think, oh, what would be a lovely harmony for the 2 guitar parts. We just would have overlaid this almost, by accident, and then you get this great moment. And what I like about that is that it makes you, I think it keeps me interested. If I'm working like with, collaborators that don't normally work with Jilk, the track can feel so interesting to me because it's like, oh, none of us would have ever have bought this, or none of us would have ever kind of contributed this to the song. And if you're kind of working solo, I think this is a good way to get that feeling and achieve that outcome by yourself. Like add an element of kind of randomization into your own work, and that's how we got this like beautiful guitar moment. Oh, I love it. And so like what I kind of like about this bit is that you can kind of just solo all of the organic elements. So that's just guitar and clean piano. And in and of itself, this is quite a nice piece of music, and almost entirely unrelated to everything else. What's so lush and nice, I think the reason that I kind of respond so much to those organic melodic elements is that they're in sort of direct conversation with the original Johannsson sample. Part of me kind of wishes the song had just been this and we would have added like some lush strings or like a choir. God, maybe we'll just do that. Maybe we'll just redo it. nice. So yeah, the drum and bass element, this glitchy drum and bass element, just gets more and more kind of like present. I was wondering if we'd automated anything in terms of the volume, but I don't think we do. Hey, look who it is. It's our friend Thickness. That's on this drum and bass sound. Quite a tight, slappy reverb, garage reverb. Insane EQ. Slightly more gentle compression. Really simple. We just let the nature of the effects kind of bring the intensity. And then we just sort of layer in that glitch sound, that static sound at the end there. And then have this sort of nice moment of relatively calm before the outro. And then we let this Johann Johannsson sample play slightly differently. Originally it was going to be much more kinetic and much more kind of melodically busy. And you can hear just like a hint of that here. I think if I take some of the effects off, you'll be able to hear it a bit better. Let's get rid of this. No, let's not get rid of that one. I want to get rid of the non-linear reverb there. So this is that In the Storm thing that we spoke about. So that's just, sections taken from the kind of brass and chopped together quite quickly. But yeah, I thought at the end, just to give a little hint of where the song originally was going to go, would be really nice. You might be able to hear a dog barking. There's a dog in our neighbourhood barking. Apologies if you can. Yeah, that's quite a sweet ending. Just the Celeste there and the guitar. I think this guitar is probably my favourite thing in the whole track. Just specifically this moment. It's just really nice. It reminds me, it's kind of surf rock sounding almost, but also I'm a big fan of a band called Do Make Say Think, and they're really good at these like warm interlocking guitar melodies. And yeah, that reminds me of those guys, so I like that. And then that's it. That's the end of the song. It is quite minimal, but it was nice to sort of go into detail on everything, and also not have the Pro Tools session repeatedly crash because there's not many plugins. I was going to do a full starts 3, and I will still do that, but there's a lot going on in that session file, and it was repeatedly crashing, so I didn't think that would be loads of fun to watch. Just a bit on this second element. So I think this is kind of a bit more what the track was going to be. And yeah, you can see these minor samples here. They're like chopped more kinetically. It was going to like, let's mute that sub bass because I don't think that's meant to be there like that. So yeah, it was going to be a lot more kind of aggressive and a lot more kind of kinetic, and then I think probably kind of drum and bassy sounding. That's super loud. Yeah, I think that was going to be the original intention. You can see the BPM here is 170, but I really like that it's actually a totally chill, calm kind of ambient track and very pretty. The conversation between the organic elements responding to that Johannsson sample, it's in a key, I think it's in C sharp major. I might be wrong there, but I liked that. I like working in that key. I probably wouldn't have naturally have chosen it, and it's actually quite pretty. It's really, really trying to think of the right adjectives for it, how it makes me feel as a key. There's this kind of stoic, mournful but hopeful kind of feel to it. It's not like some kind of keys and chords are, I think, quite simplistic in how they feel. A minor feels sad, and G major feels kind of warm, but C sharp major, there's like a nuance and a complexity to it. But that's Johannsson. I think he's an incredibly emotionally complicated composer and is able to put quite a lot of nuance in. Go listen to the original track. It's amazing. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. We'll do more of these. I've been John from the band Jilk. The album is available to order and listen to now. There'll be a Bandcamp link in the notes. Thanks very much. Speak to you soon. Bye.